Welcome to another episode of Fair Folk at Work. Today, my guest is Martina Livingston. You probably know her best as Emma LH Designs if you are online, or if you're at the fair, she has a booth called Fair Ladies, Fair Lords. Welcome, Martina.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Tell me a little bit about your booth.
Fair ladies, fair lords. I make guild approvable clothing for women and men, though I have to say my menswear is way better.
Do you have a favorite class that you do? Middle class, upper class,
Oh, yeah,
peasant?
definitely middle class and upper middle. Everything is off the rack. So in other words, you walk into the booth, you see the thing, you want the thing, you buy the thing, you take it to your costume mistress, and she says, "Oh my God, you know Martina," because everything I make is linen or wool or silk. It's just, I tailored it specifically to the needs of the fair participants. I love it.
Where did you start having a booth at Fair?
I started Fair on what I call the small circuit. So that would be way back in the 90s at Palm Springs Fair. A lot of people from Southern did that show. And Long Beach and Big Bear and San Diego had a Renaissance Fair for quite some time. There were several desert shows. The London Bridge Festival, Yuma. I went up north to Folsom, and there was another one in Sacramento. I can't remember the name. All over the place.
Do you remember the first costume you ever made and said to yourself, "Hey, this is pretty good. I could be a costumer"? And what was it?
I made myself an R2-D2 costume for Halloween when I was 10 years old. Dad let me use the power tools, and I nailed it.
What was the secret to your 10-year-old success as R2-D2?
Well, power tools and just a will to succeed. I am very stubborn, and I will keep working at things until they're doing what they should be.
Well, maybe I should have opened with this question, but who was the first person to take you to Fair, and what did they say to get you there?
When I was a small child, I went with my parents. So I would say that was mostly on my mom. And she said, "Come on, it'll be fun." And she was right. It was very fun. And you imagine being 11 years old rolling through Agora. Oh my God. No supervision whatsoever, with my little sister in tow. We had a blast. So much so that when I went to college, I went back with my sister. Again, still my younger sister, but she had been going to shows all along while I was out of state going to school. So she dragged me back, and I fell in love all over again. It was wonderful. It was really nice. She was involved with the LHC, Living History Center, especially the people out of San Diego. So the Biggins clan, and I think she introduced me to the Rat Racers as well, because we all lived in San Diego. And that's kind of how we all got along.
What did you remember about that phase of your life that spoke to you as being fair, something you want to do?
The art in the clothing spoke to me. Just the fact that here was an avenue for the expression of design, and art in general was a very huge part of the scene. And that to me was very unique and very special, because I don't know if you recall, but in the 90s, in the mundane world, art wasn't really something that you saw everywhere. It was very packaged and very Hollywood and LA, and New York City is the only thing, and that's it. So seeing venues and people and just so much expression of art in all its forms, from the paper maker to the clothing to the glass blower, the pottery guy, all of it made a huge impression on me.
walking in this sort of immersive village where stuff is being made and sort of marketed to you. Did that appeal to you at all?
That was nice, but really it was about the fact that all this stuff existed that I never got to see before in the wild, as it were.
Your website talks about your liking sort of simple lines and simple designs and basic colors kind of thing. How did the Faire gestalt sort of influence your artistic eye?
The Faire gestalt set me off in search of color. I used to get into ferocious fights with people over the authenticity of things like the color pink or what shade of green is that really? And I'm a research hound, and I would just dive deep down these rabbit holes and find out the most crazy things about how colors go and why they are and where they are and when they are. And I love profusions of colors, big swaths of it, just even when I'm driving down the highway, I'm looking at the sky and I'm seeing the ground, and there are these two huge color blocks that are in nature. And Faire informed that eye for me by showing me depictions and interpretations of how it was then and what they were doing when I was there seeing the show.
Do you recall any examples of striking use of color at Faire?
I always was very impressed with the overhead canopies. I know.
The burlap orange
The
and brown?
burlap. Yes. I still to this day can remember just staring up at the sky through the burlap like it was stained glass, because you could see the sunlight filtering through it in almost jewel tones, despite the dust and the dirt and the nasty burlap that it really was. But it was just like a kaleidoscope almost.
Do you dye your own fabric?
No, I am not to be trusted with chemicals and dyes. I once turned an entire bathroom, including myself, blue, attempting a project. So I'm not allowed. It's a law.
You were discouraged after dyeing the bathroom blue.
Well, I was chided for dyeing the entire bathroom blue, and it took several weeks to get the dye out of my body system as well. That's a pretty strong.
So are you going for an upper middle class bathroom?
I was trying to dye things black, and my logic brain led me down a bad path. It went, well, I must rinse this clothing. I'll put it in the bathtub. Oh, let's put a lot of water in there. Oh, this water's cold. Let's warm it up. Hey, steam. Uh-oh. Steam.
So if I were to extrapolate moral of this story, steam also can transmit color.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly it. Also, I think the moral of that story is Martina will experiment and cannot be always sure of the consequences thereof.
The Faire booth, has it always been called Faire Ladies, Faire Lords?
Yeah, it has. And it's always had a red and yellow roof as well. I started out with a parti-color checkerboard design, and now I've gone to big, huge red and yellow stripes with the same logo from '96 and the same name, always.
Was there something about this relative openness of the Faire marketplace that sort of gave you permission to say, I can do this too?
It was. I saw everybody else doing it, and I said to myself, well, I could do that. This looks amazing. It looks fun. People are having a great time. I don't see sad faces or angry people or stress and angst. And that's what made me want to jump both feet in at the same time. It was an amazing experience seeing that marketplace.
Since it has an air of everybody doing it, it's not like you're going into Disneyland and saying, I can put on a Disneyland. It's like saying, I can sell a hat and I can talk to people in a somewhat funny accent and go, God, ye good den. And you can develop a spiel very quickly that sounds kind of quasi-period, and it fits.
I think what the marketplace most impressed with me as versus something like Disney, because sure, opening a shop in Disney is certainly a occupation, but that environment is very slick. It's very controlled, very scripted, and I cannot exist under those circumstances. I know this about myself. I'm a little bit too rough of a diamond.
You don't thrive under a top-down kind of management style.
I like to tell people that I tried to be normal for a while, and it did not work out at all. So,
did you try to impose your Faire sensibility on other aspects of your real life, and that did not go as well?
I put myself through college working in corporate America, and it was really tough. I would have to do a lot of distracting things with my hands, like building forts or cutting out paper dolls or things like that, to work as a telephone customer service person, because my creative brain was just dying to be expressed and heard. And I had to follow a script, and that was really stressful. So,
did you ever read a corporate script and go, I could do better than this if they just let me tell a joke here?
That was usually about the time I got called into HR and told Martina, no.
Have you ever performed in any Faire shows or done any of the street stuff?
I gig a little bit with some of the Cuthberts people, but I dabbled in theater when I was in high school, and I learned that I'm not too good at it. I am very bad at cues, and I completely miss my entry and exit every single time, no matter what.
In some ways, a good director could work with that.
I have one special gift. I can make up extemporaneous song verses and make up really ridiculous little songs. And so sometimes I do that at Faire. It's part of my hawking. I like to be loud and joyful in the booth so that people want to know what's going on over there.
Faire does encourage loudness and silliness in your hawking.
I wrote a song about pants. There's even a little dance that can be done, but it requires two people. They have to face opposite directions and link arms and wear a giant pair of pants, the both of them at the same time.
Can you sing the song?
Yeah, I can. There's a second part that goes pants, 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 pants. Sing the praises of pants. Oh, we really think they're neat, 'cause they cover up our seat. They're pants, wonderful pants, glorious pants, 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 pants.
I can see how it would very easily lend itself to a repeat.
Yeah, it's like a round.
And I could see patrons wanting to stick around to see how it would end.
It does get a lot of attention, and that's how I do my booth. We're out there getting people's attention, and then we get them into the booth and we show them wonderful things.
It's a great use of a prop that is integral to what you're selling.
Yeah.
And is inherently big and silly. Did you ever make a pair of prop pants that could split into two?
Yes, they were really big. And when I was in my younger years, I could fit in them, and my sales girl too, tight. So then we would link arms and do the pants dance. They were special pants only for the pants dance. And they were bright red, of course.
Of course they were bright red.
Yes. We would just slip into the pants dance no matter where we were, no matter what we were wearing or doing. We would just say, "It's time." And off we would go.
I'm trying to visualize, you had to wear like 3 or 4 skirts, right?
Well, I'm a vendor, so I could get away with far fewer layers.
I
So
see.
pull that skirt up to your waist,
Mm-hmm.
get yourself rassled in there, probably wearing bloomers. So, it's not that scandalous, but there's a lot of gymnastics involved and much
Which is inherently theatrical in and of itself.
That was the idea.
Brilliant.
I sell shirts that are guaranteed to cure leprosy.
Did you hand out free lemon wedges with each shirt, or?
Blindness, leprosy, gout, all these things can be cured with a new shirt. On this Sunday, the Lord's Day, He has given us a sign.
I'm suddenly lost my track.
Sorry.
Oh, no, it's quite all right. As a booth owner, the weird thing about the fair, as you talked about top-down management like at Disneyland, the fair is sort of the exact opposite. It's bottom up. Everybody's sort of self-policing themselves and coming up with fun bits. And you didn't have to get the approval of the powers that be to do the pants dance, right?
Right.
You just went out and did the pants dance.
Yeah.
When you were hiring new people to work at your booth who hadn't worked fair before, did you have a sort of set way of telling them, this is kind of a looser improv, you can have fun, but you have to stay within these parameters kind of thing?
Well, yeah. People looking for work at fair are kind of out there looking for adventure, number one. So I tell them it's a work hard, play hard. Be responsible, do the right thing, have a great time. We're going to do some silly, silly stuff. And I encourage them highly to do silly, silly things. And if they seem like they're game, like maybe I'll just, pop off with a little song or something while we're talking. And if they can at least light their eyes up when I do that or follow along, then that's going in the right direction. Of course, they have to have some skills. They have to be able to do math, and they have to be able to close a sale. So those 3 things together, though, at the same time.
What is the advice you would give to a new person on how to close a sale while staying in character?
Okay, well, first of all, working fair is amazing training for real life because you are sometimes speaking in what we call BFA, and it makes you break down what you're actually saying to people and build processes, because closing a sale is a process. The first step is that you hand the item to said customer. Once they have their hands on it, then that's a percentage of reliance that the sale will occur. The second step is to have them put it on their body. Once they do that, they're 80% going to buy it. All the time, you're saying, "My Lord, come this way. I have a bower for thee." Ask them, "Do you care for the shirt?" And at a certain point, you have to straight look them in the eye and say, "My Lord, a sack?" And that's it. That's the decision point. And when you learn how to do that, it's a little intimidating at first because there's can be a lot of pressure, and that's putting yourself out there emotionally. But when you're doing it in BFA, it kind of pads that.
That is, I think, crucial because when you go to a mall, nobody's standing outside of the mall going, God, ye good den, good lords, come this way. But when you go out to Faire, that's happening all over the place. And the people that are going to the Faire like that. And they go, why, yes, I am a lord. And out their
and
mouth.
Sooth shod me now, knee.
Yes.
Yeah, could you imagine me getting kicked out of the mall?
I can both see the pants dance going on in the mall, and I can see it bombing tremendously. You know, I can just see it.
One time at a small show, I set up some friends and had them put on their armor and let patrons pay me $1 to shoot them with padded arrows. And they would walk back and forth, dink it, dink it, dink it, dink it, dink it, dink, bing, dink it, dink it, dink it, dink it, dink it, dink, dink, bing. It was genius. We raised money for charity that day. A lot.
And what made the Faire sort of unique, I've said this before, is you didn't have to go to somebody to get permission. You just had like this, wouldn't it be funny to shoot somebody in armor with a padded arrow? Oh yeah, yeah. And then they go tick, 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 tick across, and then they turn around and go back. Yeah. And then you get 5 or 6 people.
That's so funny. Do it. Do it.
And then like 20 minutes later, you're out there doing it. So,
yeah.
And I think one of the things I didn't realize at the time was that took somebody sort of organizing it and letting it go. It's really hard to assemble an audience at some place wanting to have fun. And the Faire did that so a lot of people could experiment and have fun.
It has become a safe space, I think.
I don't have kids, but I often thought that Faire was a great place to raise kids because Faire sort of empowers downward. It empowers kids to do things that they wouldn't do just sitting at home playing video games.
Yeah, it gives them the permission.
Yes.
To grab a sword, go down to the arena and see if some guy will show you some moves.
And by and large, the adults at Faire take that responsibility pretty well. And they will give them notes or feedback on what they had just done in public and say that message to say a teenager who will then go, this isn't dad saying stay in character, but it's like this person, and then they can see how that plays out with a lot of strangers in a pretty safe way.
There's a lot of good role modeling, I feel.
Yes.
Because, the youngsters that are growing up in Faire, they get to watch us walking the walk as we talk the talk. It's another thing for your mom to work all day or do a show and watch her using those people skills.
And it's a place where kids can be placed in positions of responsibilities commensurate with their abilities in a situation where they really can't fail.
Yeah, it's hugely empowering.
Yes.
Hugely. That's one of the best parts.
What are your future plans for Faire? Do you have a hot new costume that you're working on or a design element?
I have, for the very first time, an intern. I am so excited.
Is really the intern excited?
Yeah, she is ecstatic. We have a brand new booth that we set up at Southern and at Northern this season, and it's super cool. It's like 4x4 posts, and I use the Danish oil all on them, so it's just dark wood beams with just a huge open cavern roof, and it's gorgeous. And now I've got an intern who is learning how to do costuming. She already knows how to sew. So it's like all these things are coming together for me. And we're bringing out some of the old designs that I put away, because not every design is every year, right? For instance, I'm having the intern do a kids line, because there's no better way to teach somebody how to sew adult clothes than having them sew children's clothing, where it's smaller, and if they mess it up, it doesn't matter.
And any kid is going to look great in a Faire costume. It's going to be a photo opportunity no matter what.
So yeah, new things are afoot, old things are afoot. It's been a real growth period for me the past couple of years, and I'm riding pretty high. I'm very stoked. I feel like I finally made it. I'm a real girl now.
Do you have, maybe I asked this already. No, you answered R2D2.
Yeah.
Is there a Faire costume that you remember making and taking a look at it on the mannequin going, okay, I'm legitimate. This is good.
My first doublet. And I didn't do it on a mannequin. What I did is I grabbed my next door neighbor, because he was about a size medium guy, and I used him as a fit model. And dang if he didn't look good. He looked good. And it was like one of my very first designs and my very first pattern too. So I was like, yeah, I could do this.
Was he a noble?
No, it was just a very basic garment. But for me, it's about the fit and how they go together. And that's what makes things look good. Shiny, blingy, none of that means anything if it doesn't fit. And that's kind of my thing.
Did you ever get into making clothes from Spain or Scotland or?
Yeah, the Spanish court guys. I actually have gotten a little bit into doing the fancier costumes. And I remember the years when it was Celtic everything. So everybody was sporting a lenya and an onar. And then a couple of years later, I think everybody went Italian. So
I remember the Italian years, yes.
Yeah, the Italian years. And now the Spanish guys are strutting it in their black velvet. And is it really crimson or is it just a dark red?
I'd look at the nobles sort of propped up under the trees and go, Jesus Christ, there's no way I'm going to do that.
That's why I stuck with the middle class. I took to heart the advice that I got that peasants have more fun. But I wanted to be just a little bit better than boobies on a shelf peasant wench. So I went middle class, a little more proper. It's a little more in tune with my personal sensibilities, and still very comfortable. And
well, if you're hanging out with St. Cuthbert's, that would be right up their alley.
Well, I gig with them. They're fun. Sometimes they throw things at me. I call that hanging out.
Have you ever done Dickens Faire?
No. The learning curve on Victorian clothing is tremendous. And there's 1,000 million jillion people that already do it better than me. I like to stick to what I'm good at because that's fun. And I'm really good at what I do. At least I think so. And I think a lot of my customers do too. So patting myself on the back there.
Well done. Going to switch things up a bit here. I'm getting the sense that Faire is a big part of your life financially. How does that relationship work?
Because I depend on Faire, it behooves me to be on my P's and Q's and to remember that they are the venue and I am the artist and the relationship they're in.
And they are providing you with an audience, basically.
Not only just an audience, but it's a heavily curated audience.
Right.
The people that come into Ren Fair are so ready for everything we throw at them that we don't have to do any of that kind of work. And that's huge.
Like making sure the people in the parking lot are going, God, you good den or whatever.
Even
That stuff.
down to the economics of who can afford a ticket or not. That is marketing and branding that benefits everybody who puts a cap out or performs for pay or runs a booth, because those people have the wherewithal and they have been trained by the fair to know that this is a two-way street. They pay money and we give them things that they want: laughter, fun, entertainment, food, a little bit of beer, and just really the best weekend ever.
I was talking with Jim Kelly, and he's saying it's not so much that we're selling handicrafts, but it's that somebody comes up to me and tells me about this handicraft and how they made it and how well it looks on me and calls me a lord or a lady. And there's a whole one-on-one that's not going to happen anyplace else.
It's true. It's emotional. Every time you have that mug that you bought at the pottery booth and you drink your coffee out of it, you're thinking about that best day ever and how much fun you had that whole day. And that's what you paid for.
Or the girl that still has the garland that she got when she was 11 years old, and it's hanging on the wall 10 or 20 years later.
On that day, she was a magical, beautiful, smart, wonderful person, and nobles were bowing to her and jesters were kissing her hand, and it was the best day ever. Yeah, it's just a unique entertainment.
So what advice would you have for people who want to go out and work at Faire?
Oh, advice to someone thinking about doing Faire. I think that working Faire as a teen or even a young 20 is an incredible training ground. One learns people skills, negotiation skills. One learns about labor. I mean, sweat of your brow, pick up those boards, bring them over here. We're going to hammer them together and build a thing. And the kind of camaraderie that builds up around this atmosphere, this beautiful place that we have, is also a valuable skill that translates into a better career, I believe. People who have Faire skills do better in the mundane world, flat out. They just do. They've also gained some basic accounting or building or stagecraft or improv or musical or any of the myriad little soft skills that one really needs, and this is an excellent place to gain them. Excellent.
Well, I guess that. Can you think of anything else?
I wanted to add one last thing.
Please
that
do.
really touched my heart. After COVID was done enough that Faire was opening again, so many people were welcoming each other back to Faire by saying, "Welcome back home." And that was super touching. It's an amazing experience. Don't ever lose that.
And that is a great point for me to hit the stop recording button.
All right.
That was my December 2022 interview with Martina Livingston. Please check out her modern stuff at MLH Designs, artisan-made casual apparel. Her Faire stuff can be found at a website called FaireLadiesFaireLords.com. That's F-A-I-R-E, ladies, F-A-I-R-E, lords.com. Questions or comments in general about the podcast can be directed to me at djng@earthlink.net. If you or somebody you know would like to be a guest on Fair Folk at Work, you can contact me at djng@earthlink.net. That's all for now. Thanks for listening. See you next time. Bye-bye.